The winter air in Graz bit sharply at Nikola Tesla's cheeks as he stood in the dimly lit courtyard of the Polytechnic. Snow crunched beneath his boots, but his attention was elsewhere, fixed on a strange dance of light that crackled across the sky above the campus. Sparks of electricity, pure and wild, jumped from one weathered lamppost to another. And in that moment, something extraordinary happened. The patterns of the arcs, their rhythm and interplay, suddenly unfolded in his mind, not as chaotic sparks, but as a coherent, living mechanism. He could see it all: the flow, the sequence, the symmetry of what would one day become a polyphase alternating current system.
Nikola muttered under his breath, eyes wide. It's as if the universe itself whispers the design. He paced back and forth, tracing invisible lines in the snow, his heart hammering, mind spinning with formulas yet unspoken.
Across the ocean, in a crowded telegraph office in Boston, a young Thomas Edison hunched over a bank of wires and relays. His fingers flew over keys with practiced precision, correcting errors, testing connections, building devices in rapid succession. Unlike Tesla, Edison did not see the world in abstract currents or mathematical beauty. He saw it in results, tangible, measurable, profitable. His mind raced with efficiency, serial production, patents, and the endless pursuit of invention through relentless trial and error.
Edison leaned back, wiping soot from his hands. If it doesn't work, make it work. If it breaks, fix it. Then do it again. Faster, he muttered to himself, determination burning in his eyes. Already, the seeds of a relentless drive had taken root, a pragmatism that would define his legacy.
Two boys, two worlds, one lost in visions of a perfect current that could light cities without wires. The other, mastering the chaos of the physical world, bending metal and motion to his will. The air itself seemed to vibrate with the promise of their future clash, a silent acknowledgement that history was about to witness a conflict of ideals as much as of inventions. According to some memoirists, Tesla had already begun to exhibit compulsive behaviors even then, painstakingly arranging his notes, obsessing over symmetry, refusing to touch anything he considered imperfect. Meanwhile, whispers among Boston telegraph operators suggested that Edison's early inventions were fueled by a relentless, almost aggressive desire to monetize every idea, a pattern that would follow him for decades. And so, in two corners of the world, destiny was quietly knitting the fabric of genius. Each spark, each wire, each frantic calculation was a thread in a tapestry that would one day illuminate the world or set it ablaze. The following months in Graz were a blur of lectures, experiments, and restless nights for Nikola Tesla. Every spark he saw, every faint hum of machinery, became a question he could not ignore. Yet, the world around him often seemed unwilling or unable to match his vision. Professors scolded him for distractions. Peers mocked the intensity in his eyes. He walked the frozen streets alone, sketching imaginary devices in the snow, the wind whispering secrets he felt he alone could understand.
One of his instructors barked during a lab session. "Nikola, focus on the syllabus. The world is not ready for dreams of lightning in your head." Tesla's reply was quiet, almost a whisper. "Perhaps not today, but one day they will see."
Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, Thomas Edison faced a different kind of struggle. The telegraph office was cramped, chaotic, wires crossing like tangled vines, and mistakes were costly. Each device he repaired, each signal misread, became a lesson in persistence. Young Edison thrived under pressure, his mind forming shortcuts, heuristics, methods that would become his legendary approach to experimentation.
Edison slammed down a miswired relay, muttering, "If I can't fix it today, I'll fix it tomorrow. Nothing stops progress. Not mistakes, not fatigue, not the world." There was a fire in him, a compulsive need to conquer the tangible.
According to several memoirists, Tesla's fascination with perfection often led him to isolation. He would reject help from classmates, redo experiments endlessly, and sometimes go days without sleep, consumed by mental simulations of circuits and rotating magnetic fields. Rumors circulated that he had already begun to experience intense phobias and obsessive rituals, aligning his tools and notebooks with exacting precision before any experiment. Edison's environment, by contrast, nurtured a very different kind of genius. Colleagues recalled a young man who devoured every manual, experimented with each new gadget, and never feared failure. By day, he was a telegraph operator. By night, a tinkerer, building small devices that hummed and clicked until perfection, or at least functionality, emerged. Some whispered that this relentless drive hinted at the commercial empire he would one day build, a vision fueled as much by ambition as by curiosity. In these parallel worlds, the seeds of future rivalry and legend were sown. Tesla's mind danced with visions invisible to the rest of humanity, while Edison's hands shaped reality, bending the material world to his will. Two boys, two paths, destined to collide in a story of brilliance, ambition, and conflict. By the spring of that year, Nikola Tesla's small room at the Polytechnic was littered with sketches, copper coils, and strange apparatuses that hummed softly in the shadows. He had begun to demonstrate in private experiments the principles of alternating currents, though few could grasp what he was attempting. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the hills, a faint glow pulsed along a series of coils, and Tesla froze, heart racing. The air smelled faintly of ozone, and he realized, with a mix of triumph and fear, that his vision was taking form in reality.
This could light a city, Tesla whispered, voice trembling with wonder. He leaned closer, adjusting a small valve, hands unsteady. If only they could understand. If only the world were ready.
Rumors among the student body spread like wildfire. One of Tesla's classmates claimed that he had seen sparks jump without wires, as if the air itself obeyed him. Some professors dismissed these claims as fanciful, while others observed him with cautious curiosity. The whispers, true or exaggerated, only fueled Tesla's sense of destiny and his isolation. Meanwhile, Thomas Edison had moved on from the telegraph office to small workshops, experimenting with improvements to the phonograph and the telegraph relay. Each success brought minor recognition and a growing sense of self-assuredness. Colleagues admired his ingenuity, yet some began to notice a relentless streak, a single-minded focus on results at any cost. According to reports in early journals, he would often test dozens of variations of a single design in one day, discarding failures without hesitation.
Another failure, Edison muttered, tossing a device aside, or maybe just a step closer. Keep going, keep improving. His determination was palpable, a force that seemed to push the entire workshop forward.
Tesla, however, began to clash with authority figures. His refusal to follow conventional laboratory procedures, combined with obsessive attention to detail, irritated professors. Some accused him of arrogance, while others sensed brilliance they could not fully comprehend. Rumors circulated that Tesla's compulsions, meticulously arranging equipment, avoiding physical contact with certain materials, were signs of a mind both brilliant and tortured. Edison's clashes were of a different nature. He confronted businessmen, investors, and fellow inventors with a pragmatic, sometimes ruthless, logic. A minor conflict over patent rights, recorded in letters from the era, hinted at the emerging pattern that would define his career, a relentless pursuit of control over both ideas and their profits. While Tesla chased invisible currents, Edison wrestled with contracts, credibility, and the mechanics of human ambition. In this season of first victories and bitter encounters, the two young men were unknowingly shaping the philosophies that would define their lifelong rivalry. One pursued perfection in thought and theory, the other, mastery of action and outcome. And as both paths began to converge on the world stage, the tension between vision and pragmatism grew, setting the stage for a collision of ideals that history would never forget. Summer brought both exhilaration and frustration to Nikola Tesla. One evening, in the dim light of his cluttered room, a coil he had spent weeks perfecting refused to spark. The wires hissed, smoke curled into the air, and for the first time, a sense of despair gripped him. He sank to the floor, staring at his hands, trembling. "Why won't it obey me?" he whispered. The invisible currents mocked his intellect, and for a fleeting moment, the boy who had seen the future felt profoundly lost.
"Perhaps I am not ready," Tesla murmured, pacing, eyes darting over sketches strewn across the floor. "Or perhaps the world itself is against me."
According to some memoirists, these failures deepened Tesla's obsession with precision. He began timing experiments to the millisecond, measuring currents with a meticulousness that seemed almost unnatural. His peers noticed a growing distance, a withdrawal into an inner world of perfect mechanisms and silent visions. Rumors claimed he developed a fear of physical contamination, avoiding certain objects and people before experiments, believing any imperfection could ruin his work. Meanwhile, Thomas Edison faced his own crucible. A prototype phonograph he had labored on for months malfunctioned during a small demonstration for investors. The device squealed, misfired, and drew a room full of frustrated murmurs. Edison's face flushed, but instead of despair, a fiery determination took hold. He dissected the machine immediately, recording every flaw, every failed component, already plotting improvements.
"Failure is nothing," Edison said aloud, voice steady yet intense. "It's just a step closer to success. Mark my words, this will work."
Tesla's failures, however, were often invisible to the world. Friends and family saw the lonely boy consumed by ideas, pacing for hours, speaking to himself, making notes no one could decipher. Some neighbors whispered of his eccentricities, claiming that he talked to machines as if they were living beings. One early biographer suggested that this isolation forged a mind capable of seeing patterns no one else could imagine, but at the cost of profound loneliness. Edison's setbacks, by contrast, were public, social, and practical. Investors questioned his judgment, competitors mocked his mistakes, yet he thrived under scrutiny. Letters from this period reveal a young man learning the mechanics of persuasion, resilience, and strategic compromise, skills that would serve him as much as his technical genius. Some contemporaries remarked that this blend of trial, error, and social navigation was the crucible in which Edison's pragmatic genius was forged. In the end, these early failures shaped their paths in starkly different ways. Tesla withdrew into the sanctum of his imagination, chasing invisible currents and perfect designs, while Edison confronted the tangible world head-on, learning to bend reality and human expectations to his will. Two boys, two methods, two destinies, forever intertwined, yet diametrically opposed. Autumn arrived in Graz, and with it, a fragile sense of accomplishment for Nikola Tesla. One evening, a small demonstration for a handful of professors revealed the faint glow of a multi-phase current running through copper coils. Gasps echoed in the cramped lecture hall as the lights flickered in time with Tesla's apparatus. For the first time, he felt a taste of recognition, but it was tinged with tension. Some professors nodded in approval. Others whispered doubts about the boy whose imagination seemed untethered from reality.
"This is only the beginning," Tesla whispered, eyes gleaming. "If they cannot see it now, they will someday understand."
According to several memoirists, Tesla's early successes sparked both admiration and envy. Peers circulated rumors of strange rituals he performed before each experiment, from precise hand gestures to alignment of instruments according to invisible grids. Yet, despite the intrigue, the boy remained isolated, misunderstood even by those who praised him. It was the recognition he craved, tempered by the reality that genius often walks alone. Across the Atlantic, Edison's phonograph experiments began to attract attention in New York. Small newspaper notices highlighted the clarity of his recordings and the practicality of his improvements. Investors began to show interest, eager to fund devices that promised both entertainment and commercial potential. Letters from the era indicate that young Edison reveled in this validation, yet also felt the growing weight of expectation. The successes brought applause, but also scrutiny, every flaw magnified by a public eager for innovation.
"Success is a dangerous companion," Edison said one evening, adjusting a prototype. "It shows you the way, but it also watches your every move."
Tesla faced a unique form of pressure, the invisible standards he set for himself. One minor flaw in his demonstration, a coil slightly misaligned, kept him awake for nights, replaying the experiment in his mind, searching for perfection. Memoirs from peers describe him walking city streets at dawn, sketching improvements on scraps of paper, consumed by the relentless pursuit of an ideal that only he could see. Recognition had arrived, but so had the burden of expectation, both from the world and from within. Edison, conversely, faced public scrutiny. Critics questioned his methods. Competitors challenged his claims, yet he learned to navigate each obstacle with pragmatism. According to letters and early journals, he meticulously documented successes and failures, understanding that narrative could shape perception as much as invention itself. Every public validation was intertwined with calculated strategy, a lesson in both technical genius and human psychology. By the end of the season, both young inventors had tasted the heady mix of triumph and tension. Tesla glimpsed the power of his imagination in motion, yet felt the solitary weight of brilliance. Edison learned that mastery required not just skill, but navigation of expectation, rivalry, and social scrutiny. And as the leaves turned, the invisible threads of destiny continued to pull them toward the inevitable collision of vision and pragmatism that would mark the decades to come. Winter returned to Graz, and with it, a new set of challenges for Nikola Tesla. Professors questioned the practicality of his alternating current experiments, warning that such ambitious ideas could endanger the young inventor's reputation. One critic even suggested that Tesla's visions were dangerously fanciful, a phrase that echoed in his mind long after the lecture hall emptied. Tesla paced his small room, coils humming faintly, and felt the first sting of doubt. Yet, the fire in his mind refused to dim.
"If they do not see it, they are blind," Tesla whispered, voice firm despite the tremor in his hands. "The world is not ready, but I will make it ready."
According to memoirs, Tesla also faced ridicule from fellow students. Some mocked his obsession with symmetry and precision. Others whispered that he spoke to machines as if they were people. Friends began to drift away, leaving him increasingly isolated. Yet in solitude, his mind raced, mental simulations of motors, coils, and currents spinning endlessly. He began documenting every anomaly, every unexpected spark, convinced that understanding lay in patterns invisible to others. Across the Atlantic, Edison encountered resistance of a more tangible kind. Investors balked at his unconventional designs. Competitors sought to undermine his emerging reputation. In one incident, a rival engineer publicly questioned the viability of Edison's latest phonograph improvement. Newspapers picked up the dispute, portraying the young inventor as either brilliant or reckless. Undeterred, Edison doubled down, refining his devices and meticulously documenting each modification.
"They think I am reckless," Edison said, pacing the workshop, hands flying over blueprints. "But I know that only action reveals truth. Let them watch. I will show results."
Tesla's experiments began attracting the attention of a few sympathetic mentors. One professor, secretly fascinated, provided guidance and access to better equipment, while cautioning Tesla to moderate his enthusiasm in public. Rumors circulated that Tesla had begun envisioning machinery far beyond anything known at the time. A generator capable of lighting entire cities. Some whispered that he had already begun designing concepts he would later patent in America, though official recognition was decades away. Edison, in parallel, faced personal strain. Long hours, relentless experimentation, and pressure from investors left him exhausted. According to letters, he often slept only a few hours each night, dreaming of improvements, failures, and the elusive perfect sound recording. Yet each setback honed his instincts, teaching him resilience, focus, and the ruthless logic that would define his career. By the end of winter, both young inventors were tested in ways that would shape their philosophies forever. Tesla learned that genius could be isolating, that brilliance invited both awe and misunderstanding. Edison learned that the world would resist change, that results required persistence, strategy, and a thick skin. Two paths, forged through challenge and adversity, were now firmly set, and the first hints of a rivalry that would span continents were already visible in their contrasting approaches to invention. Spring brought new energy to both Nikola Tesla and Thomas Edison. Tesla, in Graz, had begun to assemble more complex versions of his rotating magnetic field apparatus. Sparks danced along copper coils, casting shadows that seemed to move of their own accord. Memoirs suggest that neighbors sometimes peeked through windows, whispering about the boy who lit the air with invisible currents. For Tesla, each successful demonstration reinforced his belief that his vision could illuminate entire cities.
"If one day the world could see what I see now," Tesla murmured, adjusting a delicate coil, "they would understand the power of nature itself." His hands trembled with excitement, a mix of fear and exhilaration.
Meanwhile, Edison had refined his phonograph, achieving clearer sound reproduction than ever before. Newspapers hailed him as a rising star of invention, and small investors began sending letters, eager to fund the next improvement. Letters from the period indicate that Edison relished the public attention, but never allowed praise to slow his work. Every success was a challenge to be surpassed, every flaw a puzzle to be solved.
"I will not stop until it is perfect," Edison said to an assistant, eyes alight. "The world will hear this, and they will know who made it possible."
It was during this period that whispers of an approaching conflict began to circulate among engineers and inventors. Tesla's AC designs, though largely theoretical in Europe, represented a radical departure from Edison's well-established DC systems. Some early correspondences hint at a tension, a fundamental disagreement over how electricity should be generated, transmitted, and used. Tesla believed in efficiency and scalability. Edison trusted the familiar, practical, and immediately marketable. In Graz, Tesla also faced personal dilemmas. His growing obsession with his inventions made maintaining friendships difficult, and several romantic interests faded into the background of his consuming work. One biographer suggests that he felt isolated not merely by circumstance, but by a sense of destiny, as if no one else could truly understand the currents he perceived in his mind. Edison, conversely, navigated social and professional networks with precision. Early disagreements with business partners tested his negotiation skills and hardened his resolve. Memoirs record that he began to cultivate a public image alongside his technical achievements, understanding that perception could be as influential as invention. The contrast between Edison's social maneuvering and Tesla's solitary genius became increasingly pronounced. By the end of spring, both men had achieved milestones that hinted at the scale of their future impact. Tesla's conceptual breakthroughs foreshadowed the AC systems that would one day electrify the world. Edison's practical innovations promised immediate utility and commercial success. And though they had not yet met, the first sparks of rivalry, the tension between vision and pragmatism, were already crackling invisibly across the Atlantic. Summer in Europe brought excitement and whispers in equal measure. Nikola Tesla prepared for a demonstration of his rotating magnetic field, inviting a small audience of professors and industrialists. The room was dim, the coils humming, wires stretching across the floor like veins of energy. As the current pulsed, lights flickered, and a small motor began to turn, seemingly alive. Observers gasped. Memoirs recall some staring in awe, others shaking their heads in disbelief.
"Look, it moves without direct connection," Tesla exclaimed, voice barely containing excitement. "The principle is sound. The world is on the verge of something extraordinary."
Rumors spread quickly. One student whispered that Tesla's apparatus had produced sparks that leapt 2 feet into the air, a phenomenon no one could explain. Critics questioned the safety and practicality of alternating current, sowing seeds of doubt even among supporters. Tesla, however, felt vindicated. The spark of understanding in the eyes of a few believers outweighed the skepticism of many. Meanwhile, Edison's workshop in New York hosted another demonstration. The phonograph played a recording with unprecedented clarity, drawing a small crowd of investors and journalists. Yet, behind the applause, tension simmered. Rivals accused Edison of exaggerating results, some suggesting he borrowed ideas from lesser-known inventors. Letters from the Times show Edison fuming over misrepresentation, his determination to control perception becoming as crucial as the invention itself.
"They twist the truth," Edison muttered, pacing between workbenches. "But I will show them the power of results, not words."
Tesla faced personal challenges as well. The success of his demonstration ignited jealousy among peers, and one influential professor openly criticized his methods in a private letter, calling them reckless and impractical. Tesla, fiercely independent, began to distrust advice, relying increasingly on intuition. Memoirs hinted long nights filled with feverish calculations and mental simulations, the line between reality and imagination blurring. Edison, on the other hand, faced public scrutiny. Newspapers published editorials questioning the originality of his designs. Competitors challenged patents, and every demonstration carried the risk of public failure. According to letters, he responded with a mix of charm and unyielding insistence on results, slowly building an image of the relentless, pragmatic inventor. The contrast with Tesla's solitary brilliance became more pronounced, and observers began speculating on which approach, vision or pragmatism, would dominate the coming era of electricity. By the end of the summer, both men had tasted the exhilaration of early recognition and the sting of criticism. Tesla's ideas were revolutionary but untested on a large scale. Edison's devices were reliable but conventional. Across continents, the seeds of rivalry, shaped by contrasting philosophies, were sown. The stage was set for the coming clash that would electrify the world, literally and figuratively. Autumn arrived once more, and with it, a tangible tension in the world of invention. In New York, Edison's latest direct current systems were operating reliably. But whispers of Tesla's alternating current reached American ears. Some engineers argued that Tesla's designs, though theoretical in Europe, threatened to overturn established practices. Memoirs recount heated discussions in workshops and laboratories, the air thick with rivalry even before the men had ever met in person.
"Alternating current is dangerous nonsense," Edison exclaimed to an assistant, hands waving over blueprints. "It's impractical, untested, and will never replace what works."
Meanwhile, in Graz, Tesla heard of the criticism across the Atlantic. Rather than intimidation, he felt a surge of determination. He meticulously reviewed his notes, reran mental simulations, and refined his concepts, convinced that vision and innovation would ultimately prevail over convention. According to some biographers, Tesla began drafting letters proposing partnerships and patents, hoping to gain recognition in America before Edison could consolidate influence.
"They misunderstand," Tesla muttered, pacing by the coils. "The currents are not just practical, they are inevitable. They will change the world."
Public demonstrations added fuel to the fire. Tesla arranged a small exhibit of his motor and generator systems, impressing a limited audience but drawing skeptical commentary from traditionalists. Letters from attendees report whispered debates. One professor warned of the dangers of unseen forces, while another quietly predicted that Tesla's designs could outshine all DC systems within a decade. Lore was watching, yet the ultimate collision of ideas remained invisible, an impending storm. Edison, fully aware of these reports, intensified his efforts. According to journals, he experimented with dramatic demonstrations to show the dangers of AC, attempting to influence public opinion and investors alike. The first seeds of what would later be called the War of Currents were quietly planted, fueled by technical disputes, media manipulation, and clashing personalities. Observers noted the irony. Both men sought the same goal, widespread electrification, yet their methods and philosophies were in direct conflict. Meanwhile, Tesla's personal struggles continued. Isolation, obsession, and unrelenting self-critique left him both brilliant and vulnerable. According to some memoirists, he often envisioned entire cities powered by alternating current, sketching invisible grids in the air as if conducting a symphony of electricity. Friends worried that his genius carried a toll, a fragility hidden beneath the luminous promise of invention. By the close of autumn, both men were poised for a confrontation that would extend beyond laboratories. Tesla had the vision, Edison the pragmatism and public influence. Letters, whispers, and rival demonstrations created an invisible battlefield, setting the stage for decisions, debates, and rivalries that would shape history. And as leaves fell across two continents, the world remained unaware. The clash of currents and of minds was only just beginning. Winter's chill returned, mirroring the tension that had quietly built over months across continents. Nikola Tesla worked tirelessly in Graz, surrounded by coils, sketches, and the hum of invisible currents. According to memoirs, he often spoke to his apparatus as if it could answer back, envisioning entire cities powered by his alternating current, lights shimmering in patterns only he could perceive. The thrill of discovery mingled with the weight of isolation, each success shadowed by the haunting question: would anyone understand before it was too late?
They see sparks, but not the symphony, Tesla whispered, voice trembling. They cannot yet hear what I hear, but they will. They must.
Across the Atlantic, Edison's workshops buzzed with a different kind of intensity. Investors and journalists crowded his demonstrations, witnessing the reliability of his direct current systems. Letters from assistants reveal a man sharpened by scrutiny, determined to maintain control over perception and profit. The tension between imagination and practicality, vision and pragmatism, was now palpable even to outsiders.
Perfection is measured by results, Edison stated firmly, adjusting a device. I will show the world what works, and they will follow.
Rumors began to swirl. Tesla's alternating current concept could outshine all DC systems. Edison was determined to prove otherwise. Newspapers hinted at rivalry, yet the true scale of the coming war of currents remained hidden. Tesla's European supporters whispered of his genius and eccentricity. Edison's American allies touted his pragmatism and tenacity. Both men were on a trajectory that would change the course of modern electricity, yet neither fully grasped how intertwined their destinies had already become. Personal stakes were rising. Tesla's obsession left him vulnerable to illness and exhaustion, his nights filled with visions of glowing cities and humming motors. Edison's unyielding drive isolated him in a different way, surrounded by machinery and men, yet burdened by the weight of expectation and rivalry. Both men teetered on the edge between triumph and disaster, their genius a double-edged sword. The winter deepened, and with it, the invisible threads of conflict tightened. Letters, experiments, and whispered predictions crossed oceans, creating a shadowed battlefield of ideas. Memoirs hint that Tesla began to prepare for a move to America, sensing that the next stage of his journey and the inevitable confrontation with Edison would unfold there. Observers could only watch, unaware that the coming clash would not just be about electricity, but about vision, ambition, and the human desire to shape the future. As the first snowflakes fell, the stage was set. Two young men, separated by an ocean yet linked by destiny, were about to embark on a collision course that would electrify the world and define the very nature of innovation. One pursued the unseen currents of possibility, the other, the tangible proof of practicality. And in that tension, the clash of brilliance and pragmatism, the story of invention, rivalry, and human ambition reached a turning point.